obviously we've been going through COVID. You and I have been on these calls in Ontario, on Canada. We've seen the industry in Canada, kind of come together in a certain way to work in the pandemic. What for you, having worked in this industry for 25 years and seen it and worked at different people who've always have competed with each other and stuff, what's been the most surprising thing that you've seen in these couple of months? And I mean that, and maybe we'll take both a strength and weakness. Like what is the most surprising thing on the positive side, and what's the most surprising thing, the biggest challenge you see, given what you've seen in these last couple of months and how the industry has adapted to COVID?
I think the most positive is seeing everybody come together. We've got, on these calls and these coalition calls, we've got big box working with, small mom and pop who have, 10 bikes in a room. Like it's amazing that we have gone from that fragmented world where everyone's out for that same dollar, and we're, everyone's jumping on, and we know this, a crisis brings people together. We know this. Seeing everybody jump on board to help get this on track and get us open. We knew that fitness was going to be closed forever, but trying to come up with what our best practice is as an industry to get that member feeling safe, which I think has been amazing, an amazing positive to see all these backgrounds come together for the one main cause. The flip side of that, I don't know if that's going to be sustainable long term once we reopen. Yeah. And that's what I take on the other side of it. Being on the calls, they're two heads of the same coin. Once we're open, we're now going to be back to fighting for that dollar and missing the message. And again, going back to that whole, how can we take this industry seriously? Are they really essential when all they're trying to do? I remember years ago, a radio, slogan, I don't want to be flabby anymore. I don't want to be a fat guy. Well, okay, thanks for shaming everybody who needs to go to the gym, right? So it's how do we get them to, everybody to continue talking and to continue to be on the same page and grow and say, we are in this together, right? We all know that we got to stay in business, but there are GTA alone, there are 7 million people who live in the GTA. Okay. We don't have 7 million members going to the gyms combined, right? There's a whole lot of people out there that we need to work together, I think, as an industry and continue. We got on board to work together positively to get open. What do we need to do? Who we need to talk to? I think this, I think we should do this. How about this, common ground. Okay, everybody, let's keep this conversation going. How do we now get everybody else in the gym? How do we get people going to exercise? How do we make them healthy and fit? And how do we change the way the world honestly sees us, at least in North America?
That was one of my questions was and just before I get to that public perception question, I would say for me being in this stuff, and I sit more on the side of being skeptical and sometimes being very critical of the fitness industry and how it operates. I mean, it's a bit of my role as a founder of a tech company that's changing, how business is done in the fitness world. One, seeing everyone come together has been interesting. I was surprised at, maybe not surprised is the wrong word, but I was really, it was positive to see that the start of the conversation was, how do we put staff member and public health first when we're putting together these guidelines to propose to the government? How is that the first thing we're looking at? Because they knew we've got to build back public trust. We've got to make this safe for people to come in. We can't have outbreaks happening in gyms because that'll set everybody back. We need to set a standard of it. And then obviously once that was the first focus, then the secondary focus was, okay, can we make money this way? Can our businesses survive under these conditions? And so it was like, that was first. And then the economic survival came to push back to find a balance in between. And I was impressed that that's where the conversation started. And a lot of it's even a lot of the bigger box gyms have been the ones that have been even more conservative with the guidelines that they've come out with, compared to some of the independent clubs who might not be part of those coalitions and some of the stuff we've seen happen already, opening early, not being physically just enough, stuff like that. But for the most part, like, everyone kind of came together. But you're right, it's this double-edged sword of whether, I remain skeptical to see whether people will adapt to the things we've talked about, adapting the service model. I've heard so many people just say, I need to survive till they get back open. Now that I'm getting back open, I need to survive until September. And then I hope there's going to be enough people that come back in September because we've got public trust, and that I can survive until January and when there's a vaccine, and then I'll be good. And the amount that I've heard that makes me very skeptical that people are really like looking at the numbers and they're really going to adapt, or they're really going to invest their time. And now that we've even seen reopenings, we've seen less people on these calls too. Like, will they invest the time to continue to work together as an industry to actually see this bigger picture of how we get more, engage more of the population because they know they're getting it there for their health? I remain skeptical. I remain optimistic, but skeptical. I know there's a lot of work to be done. It takes people like you and I to drive that conversation. It's one of the reasons why, rather than being a cheerleader with encouragement and like some content, we're now changing our focus to being like, hey, this is how it's done. Come with us, gyms and trainers, if you want to participate in this ecosystem over here with healthcare. This is how you've got to do it. Yeah. And part of it has to be capturing data and taking a long-term approach to health outcomes, or else you can't play in this ballpark. So I think that there's like practical things people can do. So it'll be interesting to revisit this in like 6 months with you and I and see like what
for sure
happened. Did you enjoy that clip? You can check out the whole podcast on our YouTube channel or wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want to get more content on the future of fitness.